Okay, right, what we're going to do now is we're going to work through question 3. Question 3 would pick you up quite a few marks from section D, 12 marks in total. And we're going to use a top-down approach, which is an approach none of you really used, and it meant that you lost silly marks and really got stuck and lost with the problem. Rather than doing the bigger bits, simpler bits, the bits at the top of the problem, which would have helped you work through them one bit at a time, making sure that it worked at each bit before you got down to this 6-mark question, which is probably the hardest. And you should do this with any question which involves you working out the code or how to solve the problem. If you read through the question, using pencil to highlight the key bits, I'd have probably highlighted the fact that you're going to work in these 3 subroutines. What it currently allows you to do is not important. You're going to basically adapt the program. Now this is the big problem. That's the goal. Now what it does, as you should do with any problems, it splits the question, and most exam questions will do this, is it splits it down, it breaks it down into different parts for you. First bit being to adapt the display menu so it says 5 check running hand as well. Now I've done that already, just added an extra console read line. Now top down approach, that's the easiest bit, that's the top of the problem. And what you should do is run that and make sure it works. Now if I press 5 now, you can see it keeps repeating because the program actually doesn't do 5. Okay, so the next part of the problem is to make it handle 5. You see that where my program, or where this program handles the user choices, is in the main. It's the select case. If you select case 1, it tells it what to do. Case 2 tells it to print the deck. So what we need is a case 5. So I'm going to add that in, case 5. So there's my case 5. Now at the moment, that's the big part of the problem. Get it to handle case 5. So what I'm actually going to do is do something really simple, which is called a write line. And I'm going to tell it to, I'm just going to tell it to print out check for pair. So now what I can do, let's put the speech marks in, is I can run my program again, and now when I press 5, it should tell me check for pair, but it didn't. Now why didn't that work? Well, if you were thinking about it logically, what you should do, doing a top-down approach, is work through your hand, work through your code. It displayed the menu properly, it got the user choice, but it didn't actually ever get to this select case because it didn't print out, if you see that, it printed out the line, please enter number of choices, oh sorry 5, and just kept printing it out. Now that's nowhere in main. So what I need to do is go to get user choice, because I know it did that properly, and then it's got to start getting user choice. So I'm going to go to get user choice, and if we'd looked in the question as well, the next bit actually tells us, so the question would have helped us follow that top-down approach. Adapt get user choice, so it will now accept a user response of 5 as well as 1 to 4 or 9. So you can see here, again, if you're not sure how it works, dim choice, user choice insert declares in memory a user choice, console writes line, and then it keeps looping, asking them to enter the choice until it's until user choice is between 0 and 5 or 9. Right, now I want it to be between 0 and 6 because 5 is less than 6, but it's not less than 5. So now I've changed that. If I run that, I press 5 again now, you can see now it says check for pair. So that's actually a big part of my problem. That actually I've got to get the program to check for a pair. So I've done that. It's now going to handle my user's part. That's the big part of the program. And we're going to move on to the next bit. So that's going to be here. So if we come down here, it says create a new subroutine or function called check for pair. Now, because it's checking for something, I want to, it's checking for a pair, I probably want it to return a value or an answer to the user. I want it to write something out in the console. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to create a function. So I'm going to do in here called function check for pair. Did it give a name? Yeah, check for pair. I'll tell you what, I'm actually going to copy that. Function check for pair. Don't know if it's going to be passed anything yet at the moment. I assume it will be. Probably be passed. Need to be passed the deck. As now, because it's checking for something, it's either going to find it or not. So yes or no, true or false. That's Boolean. I'm going to declare it as Boolean, and then end function. Now it's going to give me a warning here because it doesn't return a value because I've not said check pair is equal to anything. So I'm going to say check pair. Check for pair is equal to true. Just to stop that warning for a minute. And what I'm now going to do, I want to make sure this works. I want to make sure this actually gets to that. So I'm going to cut this because I know that worked there. I'm going to paste it here. So I'm now going to get my function to write out constant right line check for pair. That's a big part of the problem. Actually get a function ready and working called check for pair, so it can actually check through my deck and see if there is a pair. So the next part of that problem is get that program, that subroutine, that function to run. So I'm going to go up to case 5, which is when it should work. I'm going to call check for pair. So my program actually now will call check for pair. So that works. I'm going to run it. Okay, so now when I run that, I'm hoping it should say check for pair again still. Yep, brilliant. Just to make sure that is working and it's not on a different build, I'm going to put an extra character in there just so I know and distinguish between the two. Brilliant. And now following that top-down approach, I've done my constant right line. I've adapted my get user, so it now accepts that. And I've added a function called check for pair for function, which my main function handles. Now if we go back to the question, yes, I've done that. That's the display menu. I've altered my subroutine get user choice, and I've amended my subroutine main so it handles the choice. Okay, that's 2 marks. That's 1, 2, 3 marks. So I've already picked up quite a few of the marks there. Right, now the subroutine should for each card. So that's the first part. I need to do something for each card, and there's a bit of a clue in there. So I'm going to delete this now because I know that works. Now for each card, so let's do that. For each card. Okay, so for I as, so that's going to be an integer. Let's say 0, 2, and my card, for each card in my deck. So here we go. Actually, I don't know what my deck length is. I've not passed, function doesn't know what my deck is, and I think I call it deck. Oh, and I called it hand. So I'm going to call hand. Oh, no, but hand isn't recognised. So I'm going to put length because I know it's the length. See, it's not going to let me do that. So what I'm going to do is I need to pass it hand. So I'm going to say hand here, tell check pair to pass the hand over. Now what it's going to do here, is error, because there's too many arguments, too many parameters, because I haven't told check pair it's going to get hand. So that's my next part. Again, working through the problem one by one. As you do bits, it might throw up errors and you handle those errors at the time. So we're going to do, I'm checking it, so I don't want to change anything, so it's by value, it's a hand, it's an array, and it's as card, because I've got the structure which I created earlier. Now, there you go, so that's hand, and now what I can do here is say it's hand dot length -1. Brilliant, so that's going to go through, loop, next. So that's going to go through each card. So that's my first bit done. That's one mark. Okay. For each player in the card has search through the hand and return the value if true if there is another card. So for each card, so I've started with my first card, and I want to move through and find out if there's another card with that value. Right, okay, so where's it gone? Right, so within that, I'm going to do, I want for each card, I want to go through the deck and find out if there's another card of that value. So I'm going to do another loop. So I want to go through the deck, okay, as integer, now what I'm going to say is it's equal to, I'm going to set it equal to, I'm going to explain that in a minute, to and dot length that's going through and checking each card. Brilliant. Right. Oh, two warnings here, syntax error, because I forgot to put in zeros. Okay, brilliant. Right, now I'm going to explain this now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write out again in my top down approach. So I've done two big bits here. Console dot right line, and what I'm going to do is get it to print out and dot length and I. Now I'm only interested in the values here because I want to check if the values are the same. I'm not interested in the soup. And so I'm going to want it to print out for each card and then check each card next to that. So I'm just going to put the place in there so it's a bit easy to distinguish what's happening there. Ah, fuck me out. Right, so here, this is printing out which card I've picked, working through my deck one by one, and then which card it's checking it against. So checking each card one after the other. So let's just run that. I should explain that to you. All over those. Length. Ah, there you go. Dot length. It should be value. Not return which it does. Oh, that's the big one. Oh, that's just one there. Right, so I'm going to print my deck. Just so you can see it. So I've got Jack of Hearts, 7 of Clubs, 10 of Spades, 4 of Hearts, 6 of Clubs, 9 of Clubs. And there's no pairs in there. Fine. So I'm going to check winning hand. So that should run off. Right, okay. So remember that a Jack of Hearts, Jack is a 10 because King is 13. So what we're going to do is we've got 10, 10. So it's checking the 10 against itself. Then the 10 against the 6. Then the 10 against the 9, and that, remember, it's -1 each time, so 7 is 6, 10 is 9. Because ace is high, that's why that's one, each card is worth 1 less than its actual value. So it's checking them against itself. Now we've got a problem here straight away, is that if I'm checking the card against itself, then it's going to tell me there's a pair, because there's 2, it's going to start counting the card twice. So I've already noticed the problem there, but we should see that here we're checking 5 cards, then 4 cards, then 3, then 2, yeah, 3, 3, 2, and an 8. So, first thing here is I don't want to start checking at I want to start checking at I plus 1, which is the next card. So that's my first bit I've noticed in my top-down approach. I'm going to print that out, just print my deck, so I see that it's doing it. Yep, there you go, it's printed the deck, and I'm going to check winning hands. Now there you go, so hopefully it's going to start with the first card, which was a 2 of spades, which should be 1. And there you go, it's checking 1 against the 10, which should be the jack, yeah. Check the 1 against the ace, which is a 13. The 1 against the 2, which should be 1 against 1. So that should give me a pair. So that's brilliant, that's working, that's checking, going through each card and checking them against all the other cards in the deck. Now, that's what I want it to do. But I don't want it to print them out. What I want it to do is, if, I'm going to undo that, I've printed it out, is if hand value I is equal to hand value J, then I want to make something true. I want check pair to be true. Now, what I'm actually going to do to make it easy is I'm going to dim a found, the variable called found pair, and this says equal to false. So if it goes through all of them and it doesn't find anything, then I want it to stay false. If it does find one at all, then I want it to make found pair equal to true. So it only changes found pair to true if it finds 2 cards that are matched, 2 different cards that have been matched. I want check pair to tell me false if it's not found anything, or true if it has. I've got found pair which sets that up already. So what I'm going to do is, once I've checked through all the different cards, is I'm going to go found pair and put that, assign that to check pair. So check pair will be false if it doesn't find anything, and found pair and check pair will be true if we do find a pair. So that's now my completed check if there's a pair. Really nice and simple. 6 marks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 5, and then assigning it there, 6. Then what I can do is come up here, again, my program, I think it says finally adapt the main routine, so actually insert and call subroutine, and the main subroutine should display if it's got a message or not. So if check pair returns true, then I'm going to console dot write line, and let's just check what it says. You have a pair. Copy that. You have a pair. Else. Oh, no, that's made a bit of a mistake. I'm going to copy this because it's just you do not have a pair. Else you do not have a pair. That looks pretty good. Just get rid of that line. Now, by doing it bit by bit and checking each bit by bit, I should now have, if I just print my deck, do we have a pair here? Nope. So it's just, that's quite good. Let's run that and see if it comes back. It says, look, we do not have a pair, so brilliant, that's working. And let's redeal. Print deck. Do we have a pair here? Ace of clubs and ace of spades. And if we check pair here, tells us that you have a pair. So it's brilliant. By break it down bit by bit, I picked up marks along the way, and even if I didn't get my program working, I was able to get some of the marks. Now it also made it a lot easier for me, because I was dealing with one little bit at a time, to actually get to a solved problem. Again, what I could have done is, if I wasn't sure, is drawn out my deck on hand and worked out how to have done it by hand. If I'd have got an error, I could have worked through any of the other things that we've talked about, hand tracing, get the computer to display all the variables using the console read line, and making sure I've worked through the problem logically. Could have done decision tables for if statements. That's what you need to do in an exam, rather than just try coding and thinking about the problem in one big part, which is going to confuse you.